Yeah, don't worry, guys. Won't take it personally.
Who'd like to go first? Thanks, Valkyrie.
Congrats on the win and the wickets. Was that as clinical a performance as you would have hoped, or are there areas you want to brush up on, do you think, for the next match?
It probably could have been cleaner in the field. It was warm out there. It's tough. But yeah, probably not as clean as we'd like to be in the field, and probably could have done that a little easier with the bat. But conditions it was tough out there, and credit to them for getting the job done in under 15.
And New Zealand next, they had a big upset last night against India. I don't know if you got to see it, but what have you been able to make of their performance?
Yeah, we were training at the time, so did miss the game, but saw the scorecard. But pretty cool. Opens up the tournament completely and shows if you have a lot of intent at the start, what that can do in the power play. So yeah, it'll be a great match. We've obviously just come off a series against them in Australian conditions, so it'll be an even tougher match up here.
Alphados?
Megan, it's a really difficult pitch and everybody's talking about the slowness of it and obviously the size of the outfield. You're probably the seamer that's done the best on this surface. How did you experience it and is this a good pitch for this kind of tournament?
Probably helps from half a spinner. There was actually a little bit more bounce and carry in my first over than what I thought there was going to be, so that was a nice surprise to have a slip in there early. But taking the pace off, I think we always knew was going to be effective over here. And as the game progressed, it did get lower and slower. So the second match, I think, will be pretty interesting to watch. As this whole tournament progresses, it'll be really interesting to see the spinners take hold a little bit more. But I think pace still has a big, important role to play. And being able to move the ball early is still what I'm going to try and do. And it's just about adapting to conditions if that doesn't happen.
And I mean, there's all this talk about, everybody's hunting Australia and maybe there were one or two moments where it looked like you were under some pressure. How did it feel just coming into that first game, knowing, all eyes on you, defending champions and all the expectation that comes with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's cliche, but defending champions doesn't really mean anything in a new tournament. Everyone's on 0 points. I think the slowness of the pitches brings in every single team into this tournament. It actually evens it out really nicely. So, I think it'll be a close one throughout. Our entire pool is a tough one, obviously, and that's what we've spoken about a lot. But it was pretty exciting, I think, to go out there. We were pretty nervous to play at 2 p.m. in terms of the heat, and I think we handled that really well. Probably worked ourselves up a little bit more than what it was out there. The breeze was life-saving. So, I think we've acclimatised nicely to that, and now we move into night games, which will be much more pleasant.
Yeah, there was so much talk about spin leading into this, but as a pace bowler, how did you go about preparing for these conditions?
Not too different to what I normally would, to be honest. I use my change-ups back home in Australia as well. It's just using them probably on a different length here. Towards the back end, bowling the final over, I just look to pitch it nice and full and get them playing me down the ground. So, which is what I'd probably do in the Big Bash as well back home. Obviously, you get punished a little bit more in Australian conditions sometimes with a faster outfield, but big boundaries and a slow outfield bring my change-ups more into play. So it'll be interesting to see how teams attack me going forward.
And a bit of a tough old over for Darcy, but how do you guys wrap your arms around her and help her out there in that kind of moment?
Oh, she'll be right. We kind of did have a bit of a laugh of we ever mucked our tape measure before the game because both of us are bowling no balls, but I had the breeze behind me and she was into it. So we had real role reversal today, which normally I'm chugging into it. So maybe she just had a go at running into the breeze finally and found it tough goer, but she'll be fine. She's a refreshing kid. I don't think she'll take it too seriously.
And just a word on Beth Mooney, we all know she struggles in the heat. What does it say about her that she consistently plays like this when she is struggling that much?
She pushed through. We always knew she was going to have a rashie by the end of that match, and coming out in a hat's pretty courageous. So, that's Moon. She chugs through. I'd like to think our whole batting lineup would do the same if they're in those conditions as well.
Thanks, Shooter.
Thanks, guys.